Well, I think first up, a lot of entrepreneurs feel guilty when they take time away from their business. And we need to stop that right now. We need to stop that self-guilt tripping immediately, because you've got to take time away from your business in order to be able to recover mentally, if nothing else, to be able to lead in the right way.
Hey, Launch family, before today's episode, I have a small favor to ask you. We realize not everyone who's watching our show is subscribed to the channel. So if you've ever learned anything valuable from our conversations, or if you felt inspired by one of our guests, can you do me a quick favor and hit that subscribe button? It helps grow the show more than you know. And the bigger the show gets, the bigger our guests will get. Thank you. And here's today's Dare to Launch. Hello, Launch family. This is Dare to Launch. My name is Chris. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Jeff Walker.
Hey, everybody.
And Mr. Dan Walker.
Yo.
And today we have a very special guest. He's a serial entrepreneur founding 3 multi-7-figure businesses, a sought-after keynote speaker, and the best-selling author of books Virtual Freedom and The Rise of the Youpreneur. His third book, The Long Haul Leader, is out now. And what we're going to be diving into today, Chris Ducker, welcome to Dare to Launch.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, excited to dig in on The Long Haul Leader. So maybe we can just start with that. What is a long haul leader, and how's that different than a regular leader?
A long haul leader is somebody who understands how important their energy is. It's somebody who wants to go the distance in both business as well as in life. So they're turned on by the idea of making lots of money and having lots of impact and all that kind of stuff. But they also really appreciate that they don't need to break in order to take a break or to justify taking a break. So they're going to look after themselves. They're going to do all the right things to make sure that they're in the game for the long haul. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm. So, Chris, I've been looking forward to this conversation. For everyone out there, Chris and I are good buddies. We've known each other for a long time. Chris gave me one of his books, The Long Haul Leader, and he even signed it. So
I was going to put a little lipstick on there and put the lip marks.
I thought that was
that was a little too much.
Yeah, it's pretty fancy. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there.
The extra limited edition.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to the conversation because this is something that I am so focused on in my life is leading a life as a full human being, not just someone who, is building a business. And it's the only way I've been able to sustain over all these years. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
What I love about your business model, what I've always loved about your business model is that it's seasonal, right? It's a seasonal scenario. So, and obviously, the model a lot better than I do, but the idea of, building up momentum over the course of, a big chunk of the year until you get this kind of big crescendo moment where it's all about the action. It's all about the offers. It's all about taking the orders. And I like that. But I also feel like a lot of people probably struggle based on my own personal experiences. I've done launches, as you know, in the past, following your PLF model, obviously. And, I have also seen many, many other people do it as well. Some people handle them a lot better than others. Some will kind of just crash and burn after it all. And they're kind of like, oh, thank God that's finished. And others are just completely on fire and they kind of want to do it all over again straight away. And I think the difference between those two types of folks, and I don't think there's a messy middle there. I think you're either one or the other. I think you're fired up and ready to go again, or you're exhausted, one or the other. And I think that ultimately it comes down to how you're managing your energy and your mental bandwidth throughout the course of these kind of seasons, right? And I mean, the introduction of the book is called Hustle is a Season, Not a Lifestyle. And I'm a big believer of that. You can't sprint an entire marathon. It's just not sustainable. You're going to collapse after, a few miles or whatever. So the deal is here to ultimately not burn out, to shine bright, but not to burn out. I think society-wise, we've kind of been led to believe that burnout is a bit of a badge of honor that you're supposed to wear, but I think it's a warning sign. And I think if if you're winning at business and you're losing at life, then you're not really actually winning, you know?
Agree. I think of it a lot like athletics. I mean, you just mentioned the marathon and sprinting, and I consider myself a lifelong athlete. I'm often training for things. And I know, Chris, you're an athlete. In fact, you're a more accomplished athlete than I am. You know, and I know in athletics, I tend to be a sprinter, right? Some of us have the slow twitch muscles and the fast twitch muscles. I was always a sprinter, and I end up finding myself doing a lot of more endurance type of things. But I don't know how much you even talk about your athletic past, your athletic career as a basketball player. But
well, it's certainly not a career. I would have loved for it to have been a career. But yeah, I discovered hoops when I was 12. I'm the most un-British Brit most Americans will ever meet, by the way. I don't like football or soccer, as you call it. And I'm not into rugby or cricket or anything like that. And I discovered basketball when I was 12, very soon after the first TV game I ever watched. The funny thing was, actually, we're talking mid 80s here, so I'm instantly dating myself here now. But at the time, we didn't have cable or satellite or anything like that here in the UK, and so the only way that you could watch the NBA was to watch like a highlight show around playoff time. You wouldn't get any regular season games or anything like that. So the first ever game I ever watched, I remember it was on at 1 a.m. in the morning. My father helped me set the VCR. And for anybody that's super young, doesn't know what a VCR is, just Google it. You'll figure it out. But we set the VCR, and I came downstairs, and my mother let me watch it before we went to church on the Sunday morning. And I was blown away. I was like, this is the game. This is my sport. And the first ever game I saw was the Pistons versus the Celtics. It was at the Old Garden. I'm half Irish. There's a leprechaun on the floor. I guess I'm going to be a Celtics fan. And I've stayed with the Celtics ever since. In fact, actually, as we're doing video, I will pull up right here. This is a piece of the original parquet floor at the Boston Garden, signed by Nate Tiny Archibald, who played for us in the 80s, and a good client of mine gifted this to me.
You should have picked the Pistons. I was
really? I don't know.
I was a huge Pistons fan, and we don't want to go too far down this road because we're going
yeah. I wrote a book about long haul leadership, not basketball. Remember?
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I played pretty competitively here in the UK. It's not the same game as it is in the US, but I like to think that I can still shoot hoops for the best of them.
So for leadership principles around hustle culture being a season, I wanted to get back to that because I think that's such a great phrase to consider it not a lifestyle, but a season. But as a leader who is running our companies, often we have to be the people who are in the lead, charging forward and setting the pace, right, for everyone else. And there's a saying, you know, everything rises and falls upon leadership. So how does one as a leader balance that idea of, man, we've got to hustle and we've got to keep going and we've got to lead this whole team to achieve something big and create that balanced lifestyle that you're talking about?
Yeah. I mean, leadership isn't about being everywhere all the time for everybody, right? It really isn't. It's about being where it matters, when it matters the most. So you don't need to be in every meeting. You don't need to be copied into every email thread or on every Slack channel or every Zoom call. You just need to make sure that you choose. I always say you got to choose your presence with intention, not insecurity. And I think a big issue nowadays is that a lot of leaders are insecure, particularly entrepreneurial leaders, because they built their businesses from the ground up, right? They bootstrapped. I know for myself, for example, all three of our businesses, two of which we've now sold, but all three of our businesses over the last 20 years, we built from the ground up. I never borrowed a penny. I never owed a penny to anyone. Every time we expanded, it was always done through our profits. And you know, I take that to heart still now. I'm very, very proud to say those kind of things. But there were times where I did want to be copied into every email thread. And when I did want to sit in on every meeting, and what happens, you know, you end up wearing way too many hats. You don't empower the people that are working for you the way that you should. And ultimately, as far as I'm concerned anyway, it stunts your growth, at least for some period of time. And so I like to think that we're pretty well educated nowadays. Like we have everything that we need in order to be able to live our lives, build our businesses, impact our clients, look after our people. We have pretty much everything we need at our fingertips nowadays. The only difference is, are you consuming that? Are you continually learning so that you continually lead in the right way? And a lot of people aren't, unfortunately. So I think, a sustainable business starts with a sustainable you. And I've just become very, very acutely aware of the fact that I can't be everywhere for everyone in all things. And so I just empower my team as much as I possibly can, and I stay in my own zone of genius as much as I possibly can.
You talk about the idea of a balanced life, and I'm curious for you leading a team, these seasons of hustle, how do you know how long they should be before you need to go back to that balance for yourself? And also, how do you explain that to your team who maybe just sees you going off and doing something that isn't working?
Yeah. Well, I think first up, a lot of entrepreneurs feel guilty when they take time away from their business. And we need to stop that right now. We need to stop that self guilt tripping immediately, because you've got to take time away from your business in order to be able to recover mentally, if nothing else, to be able to lead in the right way. When it comes to our deadlines and our hustle seasons, we know what they're going to be, as you probably do as well. You guys, I know Jeff has been doing this a lot longer than I have, has got the war scars to prove it. I know he plans out his schedule at least a year in advance, maybe more. I know we do likewise as well. And so our team knows when those sprints or those hustle seasons are going to be about. Maybe it's a new book launch, or maybe it's a live event that we're holding. Maybe it's an online launch or promotion that we're pushing out, or whatever it might be. They know, though, that at the end of that period, there is going to be a period of quietness, of stillness, of calmness. And they've gotten very, very aware of that over the last 4 or 5 years since I started making all these changes that I talk about inside of the book. So I'm just a really big believer that I should stay in my zone of genius as much as I possibly can and let everybody else handle the rest of it, right? And you can only do that when you're all working in your own zone of geniuses as well. And so I empower my people as much as I possibly can.
I'm curious because it seems like it would be an interesting thing, especially at first, especially if you're trying to make that transition from being in kind of that hustle, super reactive, like we got to be doing something at all times mode, to decide how long these periods should be, especially if you are planning that a year out or whatever length of time. But sounds like it's not in the moment, right? It's not like you finished a big campaign or something. You're like, all right, we're going to take some time off, but you don't know how long. It sounds like these are pretty well determined. How do you go about thinking about that and deciding how long makes sense to push for, how long makes sense to recover or to balance it out?
We actually do it in reverse order, Dan. It's interesting that you asked this question, because I was just talking to Chloe, who's my daughter. She's also our COO, just this morning about next year. So here we are recording this middle of September. We have pretty much most of our dates in place already for 2026. But what we do is at the end of every October, the entire team gets together and we do a 2-day retreat. And what happens at that event, and everybody is aware of the fact that when I show up, there's already going to be a certain amount of stuff already on the schedule, but hardly any of it is business related at all. This is the time where we actually plan out everything from a business perspective. But what will be on that schedule is our annual summer sabbatical as a family. That's the entire month of August. There'll also be 3 individual breaks that myself and my wife take each year. We have an early year reset, we have a mid-year reset, and then we have a late year reset, which is only a 3-night stay somewhere. But we always go somewhere big, somewhere super special. Like last year we did the Ritz in Paris, for example, right? So we really build those trips up. It's just for us. It's just me and her. And we look incredibly forward to those as well. And there are other school holidays and things like that I want to be around. Christmases, obviously, Easters and things like that as well. And at that point, we then say, right, what do we want to achieve in the upcoming year? What do we want to launch? What do we want to promote? What kind of events do we want to run? Because we're a big event company. And, what is that going to look like from the calendar based on what's free? So at a business meeting to plan out the year for the next entire year, we've already got all the personal stuff already on the calendar. And that just sends a message to the team that, we prioritize our well-being as a company. And we don't work Fridays. The entire company doesn't work Fridays and hasn't for a number of years.
So it sounds like you take the approach really of deciding how you want your life to look and then fit your business into that, which to me feels pretty opposite to how most entrepreneurs do it, right? Or
Yeah.
a lot of people, not even just entrepreneurs, where they take the gaps and then try to live in those gaps.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm just a massive believer that your business should support your life. It shouldn't swallow it. So if your business feels like a bit of a black hole and you're kind of in a bit of a tailspin all the time, it's time to realign. It's time to look at what's going on. Genuinely, I mean, you're the entrepreneur. You started your company for freedom, right? So, if you don't design the business around the lifestyle that you want and you start doing it the other way around, then really all you've got is just another glorified job, as far as I'm concerned. And so I'm just a massive believer that, you should put yourself first. And it's not bad. Like, self-care is not selfish. Like, it's a strategy. Does that make sense? Like, it's a strategy to care about yourself and about your recovery. And that's why I spend so much time on hobbies and things like that, because I'm a better person. I'm a better leader. I'm a better coach, a better author, a better speaker. I'm a better everything when I feel balanced. If I'm skewing into one direction, it's just work. It doesn't work for me at all. It doesn't work well at all. And it's not just me, by the way. 80, I think it's 87% of leaders, which would class as entrepreneurs, small business owners, solopreneurs, C-suite executives, CEOs, CFOs, COOs, that kind of 87% of people say that they're burnt out right now, which is shocking. It's a shocking statistic. Whereas the flip side of that coin is those leaders that actually engage in just a simple hobby for a minimum of 2 hours every single week will see up to 30% more productivity in their work, because they're allowing themselves to have that decompression period away from the office or wherever it might be,
I think of going back to athletics, I think of it as recovery, like whether it's taking a lengthy sabbatical like you do each year with your family, but even like each night, getting a good night's sleep, that's recovery. It's even during the day, taking breaks away from your desk. I just, like, if I'm ever stuck, like in a creative sense, like I'm looking for the subject line for an email or something like that, I have a saying that runs through my head: the answer's in the woods. And I'm fortunate enough to be able to walk out my door and be out in the woods instantly.
Yeah.
And so, like, when I am stuck or I'm just looking for a recharge, it's literally a 15-minute walk out in the woods. It makes an immense difference. Like, that idea of building recovery into your days, within your day, in your days, in your weeks, in your months, at every level, I think is critical.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. And time in nature for me now has become a complete non-negotiable on my calendar every single day of the week, including weekends. Even if it's raining, I'll still go out. We'll put the ponchos on and we'll go out and we'll walk in the rain. And the family, obviously, the kids love getting mucky, right? So, my beautiful Filipino wife, who I've been with for over 20 years now, does not like the rain all that much. In England, because it's cold rain, apparently cold rain. But when we're back in Asia, it's warm rain. So she doesn't like, she has no problems with it over there, but she just doesn't like it here. But no, we're out all the time, man. I mean, like, nature for me has become the best medicine for me, the absolute best medicine for me. But the recovery is more, like you said, like, I want to talk very quickly on the subject of sleep. When I had my burnout in 2021, which was a pretty bad burnout, by the way, phase 3 adrenal failure. I talk about it in the book. I'm recovered now, but it was bad, like really bad. And one of the first things I tweaked and changed was my sleep hygiene. I realized just how bad it was. Even if I was getting 7 or so hours sleep every single night, it wasn't the right type of sleep. I'd be waking up in the middle of the night or tossing and turning, or, I never felt fully rested. And through the combination of cutting gluten, cutting caffeine, getting into bed an hour earlier, having an actual bed, like going to bed routine of stretching. I'd lay on the Shakti mat as well. I don't know whether you've seen one of these aqua pressure mats, was like 2,000 plastic needles. I lay down on that for 20 minutes beforehand. I listen to the Calm meditation app when I'm doing that. These little things, I don't know if there's one thing that's working more than another, but together they get my body and my brain into into the right mindset for winding down and going to sleep. And the other big thing that we changed, as we used to have a television in the bedroom. We removed that, and we changed the bulbs in our bed light in our bedside tables to red bulbs. And so now we've got blue light blocking going on. I mean, obviously we don't have our phones in bed or anything like that. So, we've kind of eliminated as much of the environment as we possibly can as well. That's not great for your sleep. And, that's just one thing of a whole bunch that I put in place over the last 4 or 5 years. And it's worked. It genuinely has worked.
So, Chris, a lot of what you've been talking about really is what I would consider self-leadership.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I think that's, frankly, my theory of leadership is that the first thing you have to do is figure out how to lead yourself before
Sure.
you can lead anyone else.
Yeah.
And also, can you talk about building leaders? Basically, I think everyone these days, we're the type of teams we're building, where we have a creative enterprise. We've got a lot of creative people. It's almost like everyone on my team is an entrepreneur, and everyone needs to be a leader and a self-leader. So do you have thoughts about how to help your people become long-haul leaders for themselves, even if they're, just if they don't have people reporting to them, if there's just an individual contributor?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing is to actually lead by example. Like, it would be one thing for me to talk about all this stuff, put it in a book, and then do it. But it's a whole different ballgame if I'm just writing it just for the sake of selling books, right? And my team doesn't see me doing it. And I can't get away from it from a top level management perspective anyway, because my daughter works for me. She's our COO. So she knows if I'm in the woods or not. She knows if I'm in the ice bath or not. She knows if I'm having a red light therapy session or not, or, taking an hour. I take an hour after every lunch. I call it white space. It's on my calendar. There's nothing ever put on that. Some days I use it to maybe catch up on a bit of work. Other days I'll just sit and read. Other days I'll go and have a nap. Like, she knows, my team knows that I do the things that I talk about as well. So I like to empower them as much as possible to do likewise too, even to the point where, we've got these, I think I bought like 12 different pairs of these things. These are the blue light blocking glasses that we all wear when we're sitting at the computer. I turn them off today because it's nighttime here. I've got these lights on. You can see these horrible reflections in the lenses, unfortunately. But the moment we're done, that'll go back on. All these things, you lead by example, and just giving them the permission slips required in order for them to say, hey, Chris, I'm not feeling 100% today. I've got nothing after 2 p.m. Would you mind if I took the rest of the afternoon to just go and, do some painting, or to, spend some time with the kids or whatever? You got no work on, you're all good. Go ahead and take the time off, because I've got to practice what I preach, and I've got to empower them to do likewise as well.
I wanted to ask about something that is almost the opposite of what Jeff talked about, because I can hear the solopreneurs out there listening to this maybe and thinking, well, it's almost easier to make those decisions when you have a whole team that you're responsible for. Then I have to take care of myself. But the solopreneurs who are listening right now are like, Chris, I gotta get this thing going. I got bills to pay. My whole family's behind me. Like, you think in terms of longer timelines, and can you maybe just talk about how a solopreneur might change their mindset around this specifically so they could benefit from this level of self-care or self-leadership?
Yeah, I get that angle entirely. And I've worked with a lot of solopreneurs over the years as well. And, a lot of them, unfortunately, they don't have the financial runway, or they don't have the team to support them. Like they're in the trenches, they're working hard, they're grinding it out, right? Every day. I get it entirely. And a lot of that comes down to like chasing the next win, or those short-term wins, those quick wins that we hear about a lot. And I get it. I really do. But here's the thing. Short-term wins are loud. They're almost obnoxiously loud, right? Like long-term impact is way more powerful than short-term wins. And the real game should be patience and consistency and showing up when it's not flashy and showing up when it's not sexy, when you're not in the middle of a launch and you're not grinding it out. Like do the unsexy work even if nobody's watching. Right? Even if absolutely no one's watching, you've still got to show up and do the unsexy work. And so just the idea of compounding those things and like compounding those, what I call the 1% moves, the micro moves. You do 1% here, 1% there, 1% here, 1% there. That all compounds up. And I'm a big believer now. And I can talk from experience here because I've been doing this for 23 years, building businesses and scaling companies. Like I know it's tough, particularly at the beginning when you get started and you do want to you want to chase it all down and go after every single sale you can make. And I get it. I completely get it, but it's not sustainable. Do what you need to do and move on, recover. Don't expect to go 120 miles an hour and come out of it on the other side in tip-top shape, because it just won't happen. So it's kind of part precautionary tale, part therapy. I think when I talk to people about this stuff, because I've kind of been through it all. But the fact of the matter is that our health is, our health, both physically as well as mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all these things are super important. And recognizing actually that well-being is truly essential for sustained success. And I don't know a solopreneur that is in their first few years of business that only wants to do it for a few years. They all want to do it for a long time. And if that's the case, they've got to get better at looking after themselves and pacing themselves.
That mindset shift you just pointed at, that you're in it not for the next launch or the next few months or the next year. It's really like a 3-year long horizon line, right? Where when you realize that you are going to be doing this business for longer than just the next launch or the next product thing that you do, all of a sudden that requires you to have that conversation about am I going to do this for 3 years, right? And how am I going to balance this with a family and everything else that has to happen and not burn out? Because that horizon line, if we have it too short, that's where we get into that hustle all the time, I think, right?
Yeah. And I think, the other thing is that I think a lot of people say, I don't know about you guys, but I meet people all the time. And you always say, how are you doing? They say, oh, I'm so busy right now. I'm never been any busier than I am right now. Don't have an hour left in the day. Well, that's great. But you know what? Any idiot can fill up a calendar. Fact. Anybody can fill up a calendar with stuff, right? And so being busy, okay, great. But being busy is a trap. Like isn't the real goal here, isn't the real target impact? Having impact in what we're doing. And so if anybody can fill a calendar, I guess the precautionary warning here is not to confuse that motion for momentum. And the momentum is way more important than any amount of motion, for sure.
Yeah, I love that. Focusing on where the impact is in our schedule and not just how full our schedules are. That can be such an easy trap for people. Well, how are we feeling? Do we want to do a taco break?
I think a taco break would be great.
All right, let's do a quick taco break here.
It's all part of the self-care.
Why am I nervous? I don't know why I'm so nervous right now.
These are the most important questions we ask every episode.
Okay.
But the way this works is we're going to ask you some generic taco questions that we ask everybody, and we're going to see if your answers are correct. And then we're going to go into some spicier questions around tacos that I think will be interesting too. So the first question is hard shell or soft shell tacos?
I'm going to go with soft shell.
All right. You'll see most of us nodding our heads there. That's the correct answer.
Okay.
Spicy, medium, or mild tacos?
I'm going to go with medium.
Very good answer.
Am I doing so? I'm doing okay so far, right?
For a Brit, you're doing okay.
I think I've only had tacos maybe 5 times in my entire life. But anyway, carry on.
Well, we got to get you out to Durango for some tacos sometime, I think. All right. Now, what about this? Are you putting guacamole on your tacos? Yes or no?
100%. Yeah. Yeah.
Correct answer.
Love me some guac. Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Well, let's get into some of the spicier taco questions here. All right. I'm the leader of a team. All right. And I decided to buy tacos for my team as kind of a reward or a way to give them a bit of a recharge. How can I make this taco day a maximum recharge for my team?
Am I delivering the tacos or am I serving them up personally? What's the scenario here?
I'm curious, as a leader, how would you think about doing that?
I mean, I'm okay because I'm British, so just go with me on this. I'm wrapping the tacos up, okay, in some used newspaper, fish and chip style, okay, and I'm putting them in my picnic basket, my wicker basket, and I am putting them on, putting it into the back of the Defender. I'm driving down, I'm picking everybody up bit by bit. And we're going to go to a beautiful park somewhere. We're going to take out a great big picnic blanket. We're going to sit there underneath a massive, huge 600-year-old English oak tree. We're going to eat those tacos. We're going to eat them. And we're going to like them, every single one, even the spicy ones. We're going to get involved with the tacos. We're going to become one with tacos. And then at the end of it, everyone's going to talk about how amazing the tacos were and how important it was for us to all spend time with the tacos. Did I do well? Is that good?
I like it.
I mean, okay, I didn't bring ski slopes into it or like, hiking or anything, but
That's okay. Tacos are not a very good ski meal. They don't work that well. Like you try to eat a taco on a chairlift, you're dropping like guac on people down below.
We don't need that. And personally, I think this should be another podcast. I think you should start a new show, call it the Taco Chat Show, just see what happens with it, Yeah.
Guess number 1, you in?
I'm in. But we have to do it we have to do it there all together in person. That's the deal. Yeah.
That's what I was saying. We got to do an in-person. Everybody's just, tacos with Jeff and Dan and Chris, and we just bring people in, we get tacos, and then we ask these taco-related questions. If I'm leading a championship taco making team, okay, how do I maintain a culture of champions after we've hit the goal and actually succeeded?
Can I defer this question to Jeff? How would you do it, Jeff?
I don't know. I think that's outside the bounds of like normal podcasting norms to punt the question to the host. Come on.
I mean, okay. Can we use the analogy of the Boston Celtics for this real quick? I think 18 championships. Okay, the most winningest franchise in all of the NBA, just in front of the Lakers. Why have they consistently won championships? And the reason why is because the people who are in charge of making sure that the best team is on the court every year have done a phenomenal job. The unsexy work, we don't see the work. Just want to clarify that. We don't see the work that the back office does to bring the right players in, to get the right contract extensions and all the rest of it, to work through injury rosters and all the rest of it. So I think if a leader wants to continue leading a great team, even after successes, they've got to keep their eye on that prize, plain simple, and not become complacent in the work that they're doing, for sure.
Chris, I think I love talking, like you do look, there are sports franchises like the Celtics who have had great success over a great length of time. And it's not because of the players. The players are a critical component, but it's the leadership at the very top, like you just said. It's the ownership has to get the right management, the right coaching in place, and those games are not won. They're won on the court, but those wins are set up by the processes and that they've put together that lead to getting the right people in and having the right practices and the right game plan. So much happens so far in advance. And I do think, going back to the important part, which is the taco part, if you've just won a taco championship, my crack at this question would be very similar. It's like, if you have a team and you just went through this taco championship that was incredibly intense and you won it, and people might be feeling like a little burnt out at that point. I mean, I think it's the leadership component would be, first, it's celebration. It's like celebrating what we just did. And to me, like this, it's not just celebrating the result. It's not just for celebrating that taco championship, but it's celebrating the process that everyone showed up and they were part of the team and they executed to their plan.
Yeah. And also having the foresight to see and to know that you can do it all over again. There's a great clip. Have a look at it on YouTube. It's a great clip. I can't remember what year it was, but the Lakers, I believe, went back to back in the late 80s, maybe, or somewhere like that. And there's a great clip with Pat Riley. He's at the parade, right? The championship parade after, and they're all up on the stage, and he's got the mic, and he's talking about how great the year has been, and they finished it with the trophy, and blah, 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 blah. And then he says, and I guarantee you, we're going to do it again next year. And he turns, he looks at the team, and everybody erupts, right? But it's to look at the team as if to say, I'll just throw down the taco. You better go pick it up. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like that. I like that in a leader. I like that in a leader.
I remember that moment. I actually remember seeing Pat Riley do that. And like the looks on like Magic's face is like, come on, give us a break. But I mean, I do think, when you go through something like that, and whether you win the championship or not, I think it's important to me, like when we go through a launch and I'm with my team and I'm in that moment, and whether we had a huge win or whether we didn't, and I know, but my team's looking to me, right? They're looking to me to say something significant. And it is about recognition of what we just accomplished. And the thing that, to me, it's like, there's so many things like in a launch or in a championship that are outside our control. The things that are in our control is how we execute. And so for me as a leader, I'm always want to celebrate how we executed. And hopefully we executed well, and how people pulled together as a team. And I want to recognize individual contributions, but in context of how those contributed to the team. And then I think it's casting the vision, like, this is who we are. We are a team that shows up and executes no matter what flies in our face, whether it's amazing stuff or we didn't get the support we wanted or whatever. And this is who we are, and this is what we do, is we show up, we execute, we support each other. And we do and we keep on doing this, and we do this every single time. We're going to do it the next time as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you for indulging me with those 2-minute taco break. I think we got some great stuff there. Awesome. Well, Chris, this has been really amazing. And we call our show Dare to Launch because everyone who's listening usually has a next product or their next big thing they want to launch. And I wanted to ask you this question. Why should people dare to launch?
Oh man, what's the worst that could happen? Right? What's the worst that could happen if you take action on one of your great ideas? Nobody buys it. That's the worst thing that could possibly happen. But the best thing that could happen is that even if one person buys it, just one person, you can genuinely have a chance to impact that person's life. And, the book, for example, I worked on this book for 3 years. It came out a few weeks ago. We didn't quite sell enough in our launch week to get a bestseller listing, which was not one of our main goals anyway. But I remember actually one of my team members, one of my virtual assistants, she's been with me for about 8 years now. She was saying to me, she still calls me boss after all these years. She's based over in the Philippines. And she's saying, oh, boss, like, I'm so sad. Like we should have hit the list. Not you. We should have hit the list, right? Like, why didn't we hit the list? Like, we should have hit the list. And I said, no. You're looking at it the wrong way around. Sign into Instagram and look at the DMs and read all the messages from the people who have already got stuck into the book and they're telling me how they're already making changes in the way that they're running their businesses or marketing, their next product or whatever it might be. Like, read those. That's the win. They're the real numbers that you want to look at. Don't worry so much about whether we've hit a list or not. We've sold thousands and thousands of copies, and people are already reading this book and enjoying it and taking action. So, I think, what's the worst case scenario? You've got to take action on your ideas. Otherwise, the world will be a very, very boring place if none of us did that.
So, Chris, we're going to want you to tell everyone how and where to go get the book, and to tell them a little bit about what's in the book. Definitely, I recommend everyone go check it out. This is something I am super passionate about. So happy to have you on to talk about. I think this is one of the most important discussion that you can have right now, I think.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So we've got 11 chapters. The first one is called In It for the Long Haul, and the very last one is called A Long Haul Life. There are 4 major principles that we share inside of the book, and that makes up what we call the Long Haul Leader Life OS, or the Life Operating System. And so we focus on personal mastery, love and relationships, hobbies and pastime, and impactful work. And that's the kind of the lens that we kind of build the entire principles of the book on. And if anybody wants to buy it, it's at all good bookstores. You can get it on Amazon. You can go to longhauleader.com for links to everywhere on there as well. And there's also a great podcast that we've started as a result of the book coming out too. Jeff has been one of our first guests on that show. I believe the episode went live last week or the week before, something like that. So some very, very nice conversations over there I'm having with dear friends. And I hope if you end up picking up the book that you enjoy it and you take action on it. That's the most important thing.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, Chris. It's always a pleasure. And for Launch Family, thank you again for listening. And we hope this conversation inspires you to dare to launch. Wow, you've just been listening to us for almost an hour. I bet you are interested in growing your business and launching. Well, if you go over to getyouLaunched.com, we have some free resources over there. All you have to do is put your email in, and we'll send you out some amazing launch training. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.